The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
It is Friday, the last day before we get into high school football next week, and the only person to talk that with, the only proper individual, I should say, is Mike Sautter at Mike Sautter _ on Twitter. He's your one-stop shop for all things high school sports. Mike, let's bring you in because we are going to have a long slate of games, but I want to start in six-man because, as you can see, it's just me and Sautter right now. No worries, DB will join us in a few, and that is strategic because I want him to be here when we talk Class A. So let's work bottom up. We'll start with six-man. So D6, game between Parkview Christian and Pawnee City. Am I wrong? Is this a first for both schools?
I think that I know Parkview for sure. This is their first time. Pawnee City has not made it to a state championship as well. So both those things are correct. And if Parkview wins, this will be the first state championship for a school from Lincoln in 11 years.
Which is crazy to think about.
Well, yeah. I think this is the first time they've been in a final in 11 years, much less. And you know, I'm talking from the, Class A schools on, well, I guess it's only Class A and then Pius and Parkview. And it's the weird thing is now all of a sudden, Lincoln's claiming Parkview when they haven't really wanted anything to do with them before.
Hey, it's easy to do that when you're in a state title game.
Yeah. So I do think Parkview probably gets the win here. It was 43-16 earlier this year. So feels like a lot of points. Even in six-man, that still feels like a lot of points to overcome. Yes, that was weeks ago, about a month and a half ago. So about 6 weeks ago, I guess, that they played each other. But 43-16 feels like a pretty big gap.
Yeah, big scoring margin there. Up into the 8-man column, we look at D2, and we are at 1-2 for the D2 state championship game. The two best teams in the title game. Who will stay undefeated? Is it Howells Dodge or is it Hitchcock County?
Yeah, don't know a lot about Hitchcock County, but Howells Dodge has been the favorite all year. I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think clearly Lance Brester is going to have a pretty big game on Monday for Howells Dodge, and I think they're going to win by probably a lot. Andy Dominguez is a really good player for them. He has 7 sacks for Howells Dodge from his kind of defensive end, I guess you call it defensive end, in 8-man position, and he has 61 tackles and like I said, 7 sacks. So I think the Jaguars are going to be a little too much.
Yeah, don't forget this could have been the title game last year if Cross County didn't play spoiler to Hitchcock County's season over in what was that D1 last year?
Yeah, So Howells Dodge goes from D1 down to D2, and they basically kind of returned to a lot of everybody almost, and so yeah. Now Hitchcock County is good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. And Gaston's a really nice back for them. I think it's probably, this one's probably a little kind of like last year in the D1 game with Howells Dodge won, probably going to stretch it out a little bit, I think.
And speaking of D1, as we bring in DB right now, DB's been all over the place. And of course, DC of the Class A finalists, West Side. So we know your prep has been not solely focused on your team, but let's say solely focused on your team because you're putting your priorities first here over the rest of the classes. But DB bringing him in, we're working our way from 6-man all the way up, and we just moved up into D1 here with Mike Sautter. Mike, D1, Neely Oakdale and Clarkson Lee pulled off upsets to get one step closer to the trophy. Both teams 10-1. Both teams score a lot. Do you expect a high-scoring affair here?
Yeah, absolutely. Aiden Keister is like the story. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, I know it's 8-man, but my guy he's not my guy. I guess I never met him, so I can't really say that. He has 5,000 yards. So
he had one of the most unbelievable. I don't think you'll ever see his stat line from a week ago.
No, yeah.
20 tackles. He threw for 200 yards. He ran for another $150 or $140. He was unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay. He has 184 total tackles.
Is that good?
And he has 2,846 passing, and he has 2,031 rushing yards. You know they say one man wrecking crew. Well, that's it. He also has 4 interceptions. So now, I mean, his tackles. He has 82 solo tackles. That's good for anybody. The fact he has 102 assisted tells you he's kind of all over the place. I think he's going to be too much. I just do. And I think he's going to be one of the lead stories or the biggest story from Monday outside of, the Class A game on Monday night. But I think he's probably a little too much. I do really like Clarkson Lee. I saw them in their first round win over Wisner Pilger. And Kyle Kasich is a nice player, runs the ball really well for them. They have some really tough kids. I just don't know if it's quite going to be enough. But Coach Clarkson is a really good coach. And there are some tough physical kids. That one guy is an 8-man. If you got one guy and he's that good, you feel pretty good.
And then moving up now back to, we'll spread the whole field here with C2 getting all 11 guys on the football field now. The gospel game is how I kind of like to call this one. Hardington Cedar Catholic against Norfolk Catholic. Out of nowhere, you get the Cinderella team and Cedar Catholic finding ways to win games, scoring just 16 points in their last 2 weeks, and they've limited opponents to 9. So first trip since 2014 for this group. Speak to the strength of this team's defense and their ability to control the football game.
Yeah, they're the one team. They only lost. They only lost to Norfolk Catholic 14-0 in the first time they played, and that was a month and a half ago. That's pretty good, right? Defensively, they've only given up, the most they've given up is 21, and it was 21-19 against Oakland Craig. They gave up 20 to Battle Creek in the regular season and lost that game 20-12, but then beat Battle Creek last week in the playoffs 6-0. Norfolk Catholic has been the favorite all year. This is a massive rivalry game. There's no love lost, whatever. They do not probably, like each other. Cedar Catholic's defense is led by kind of 2 guys. You have Spencer Albers and Jalen Lammers. Both have 80 total tackles on the year. It's just going to be a matter of what do they do? They and Damon, you're calling the game, but didn't they change quarterbacks mid-year?
Yeah,
and that really flipped it for them.
That kind of sparked the kind of the transition on offense. I always wonder in games like this whether it's a complete offense defense versus a really good defense, but a rivalry deal. It sounds cliche, but I think this one truly boils down to turnovers.
Right. Yeah.
Can Cedar Catholic, can they get enough, 1 or 2, to swing the pendulum, maybe kill a drive, something like that, to give them momentum, because their energy level will be extremely high for this.
Mason Timmerman for Norfolk Catholic has 5 interceptions. Clayton Carney has 4. They've created more turnovers. Norfolk Catholic has. I'm excited to see Pieper play for the first time. And yes, it's not Piper, it's Pieper. And no, he's not related to Ethan Piper, even though it's spelled the same. So
Pied Pieper.
And they both went to, both are Norfolk Catholic kids. Pretty odd, but yeah. I think probably Norfolk Catholic has a little too much, but I do expect it to be a low scoring close game, like 14-7 or 21-14 or something.
I talked to moving up to C1 with Aurora and Pierce. I think everybody's been looking forward to this one since the season started. It's interesting because just knowing Coach Bramer, he's a real tough guy, right? Like not a fake tough guy. And I remember Vers going out to watch Matt Versal watching practice last year because he was on the call and he's like, DB, these kids are tough. And just talking to him yesterday, he's really all in on this whole underdog thing. Aurora is this big juggernaut, and the little small town kids that could but I take him at his word because if there's anybody that can generate a chip, man, it's Coach Bramer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm gonna speak with him later today, actually. They were in the state title game last year, so I don't understand. You can generate
he has one of the best players in the state on his team.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
great now,
and he has the arguably the second best quarterback in the senior class in the entire state.
Yeah, they do things a little different on offense. They're going to be interesting.
Yeah, they score a ton of points. I think this game will be like a pinball machine. I really do. I think it'll be like a 52-35 or something crazy. Like just a lot of points because the weather will be nice, right? It's in the middle of the day. I think there's gonna be a lot of points. And Carlos Collazo's health is extremely important in this one. Is he healthy enough to give it a go? He gave it a go last week in the semifinals after missing a couple weeks, got the hamstring. Jack Allen's going to be key, I guess, for me. Jack Allen, defensive end or defensive lineman for Aurora. It's Austin Allen's, I believe, cousin. So I think he's going to be the key. I don't know. Maybe Carter Meyer is a guy defensively that can slow him down as far as up front for Pierce. It's for sure like we're just little, when York was winning and they said little old York. Well, that's what this feels like for Pierce. I just think Aurora has probably got too much.
DB, as a coach here, if you were addressing, say Pierce was your team and you're addressing this team, you haven't won a state title game in Memorial Stadium because that last state title game they won was on their home turf. Mm-hmm. How do you preach to your kids to not let the lights get too bright, especially because you're carrying the underdog mentality?
Yeah, I think it's that senior class. They've been here, done that, and I think it's on them.
They played last year in the game. They played last year in it. So
yeah, I mean, I just don't think the moment will be too big for them at all. And I think they're actually looking forward to this one because they truly feel like they're like the by the ways, right? Oh, by the way, they're playing Pierce, and I, you can tell in talking to Coach Bramer, it's personal. There's no doubt about that.
Hey, Sautter, thanks so much. We'll let you get out of here. We know you got a very busy day ahead of you. More interviews to come with Mike Sautter. You can follow him at Mike Sautter _ on Twitter.
We got to sneak in a little Class A.
You want to sneak it
in? We got time.
You good? You have a quick window?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump to Class A real fast then with Sautter. Again, the 1s and 2s here. You have Omaha West Side at 1. You have Gretna at 2. It's a rematch of last year's state championship game. Sautter, how much motivation do you think West Side's coming in here with everything that kind of shook out last year?
I think there's some. I honestly if we're reliving, the everything that happened off the field last year and after the game and stuff. What are we doing, right? At this point, can we move on with our life? It's two kind of different teams, different players. Everyone's a year older. Everyone's more mature, except for some of the parents that are still bringing up last year off the field stuff. So I think it's going to be a really good game. I also think it's going to probably be pretty low scoring. Not 7-3 again, but I think both defenses are really, really good. And it a lot boils down to, and Damon would know this more than me, but and I haven't asked this question. A lot boils down to Jalen Lloyd playing or not. Feels like he's not going to play because his ankle's just busted. But an equalizer maybe comes back and fills that void with Caleb Benning.
Yeah.
Also, I guess I've coined Zane Flores the ultimate equalizer at quarterback because he's that good. But if Caleb's playing safety, how much does that change? It changes a lot for Westside. I think it's strength on strength, right? Like but who's going to be able to stop the run? Can Westside stop the run? Because Isaiah Weber's had a really good last couple of games here against Prep and that. I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's probably like a 17-14, 17-10, something like that. The weather's going to be good. I just don't see a lot of big chunk plays happening because I think both defenses are really good. Westside has an advantage on the back end of their defense. They have a better kind of secondary. But in games like this, you see guys step up that aren't the names. Blake Moore, number 5 for Gretna's made huge plays all year. Is it going to be a Ty Kiefer, Kirk Kubrich, someone like that? JQ Osler for Westside. Is he going to get a big sack or make a big play? I think it's going to be names like that aren't, the names. And Gretna defensively, like, what do they do with Rezak? Because, man, if you go over 1,000 rushing and 1,000 passing, that's pretty special. In Class A at quarterback, that's pretty special. And he's going to go over 2,000 passing, and he's already over 1,000 rushing. So can John Mesrosh give me some tough yards, big dog? Like that's all you got to do. Like, I need a 3rd and 2. I need you to get me 2.5. And like, he's going to have to do it. And to stay on the field. And I'm so intrigued. I think it's so well coached. Both teams are so well coached and really disciplined. Is a big penalty going to be something that, happens, and keeping your head and stuff like that. I'm very intrigued. I love both coaching staffs are awesome. I'm not just saying that because I'm looking at Damon right now, but they are. Both coaching staffs are amazing, and cultures are real strong and all that. It's such a great game. I'm so looking forward to it.
Sautter, appreciate it, man. I'm listening.
I didn't know if you had a comment there.
I'm soaking it all in. We're the Lloyd Benning thing is obviously big. Mm-hmm. And we get a 2-way guy back potentially too, because really good offensively.
Well, special teams with Caleb too, punt return, stuff like that can be a difference maker as well. Punt return, kick return stuff. Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm
really excited for you too.
Really, really excited.
And this is Dad coming out here. This isn't just coach. This is Dad coming out.
He gives us a better chance to win if he plays, so that part is the coach. But just seeing him out here, running around, feeling better, I think is the big thing for the dad aspect, because he's been chomping at the bit to compete, and every week it's we think so, and we get a chance to put this one together on Monday potentially. So we're excited.
Go ahead.
There's going to be a zillion people there too, by the way, because the whole town of Gretna's coming.
Yeah, they definitely
they did last year. If you think the whole town came last year, they're coming on Monday, because the last time, one town, one community thing. So.
Got to keep that sellout streak alive, huh?
It's one town, one community versus ET.
Yeah, effort and toughness. We'll see what happens.
Sautter, we appreciate you, man. I know we didn't get to Class B, but do you have any quick predictions?
A lot of points. The depth up front is going to be key, and can Gross just battle through that? Because Sal Nacarelli's a stud for Gross, but
yes, he is.
He plays every single down on, offense and defense. Him and Carson Almgren's a really good player for Gross too up front. Love Jake Garcia, running back. So patient, really tough. Owen Brennan is a game changer, game breaker kind of guy for Gross too. Will those guys, do they got one more in them, right? As far as like, there's 55 kids on the roster and half of those are seniors. Do they have one more in them to go against Bennington, who has 0 two-way guys? So, and Trey Bird, who's a fantastic quarterback, Nick Colbert, Isaac Conner.
How good is Coach Leonard? I mean,
he's real good.
He's young.
Yeah, he'll be there for a long time, I think. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. He was good at Fairbury. I don't know if people were like, Fairbury had a nice run of some teams, and he was a really good coach there, so he came over from there. But I don't know if Gross has – you're talking double the roster size, right? And depth is going to be key. But, man, and I don't know if I'd ever really bet too much against some SOBs, if you know what that means.
So, boys.
Yep. Yep.
I'm betting against – I don't know if you can bet against those guys that have been wanting this for their whole life, literally life. Like, they've been here. This moment is what they've played together for when they were in elementary school. And they've stayed together all the way through it. So pretty cool story. It's almost kind of emotional story. So it's pretty cool.
Sautter, you're the best, man. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Yeah, later.
See you, man. He's got a very busy day ahead. A lot of interviews with coaches coming up here with Mike Sautter. Again, you can follow him at Mike Sautter _ on Twitter. DB, this is something that kind of stuck out to me too, and I'll keep it in Class B here real fast before we jump back to Class A. But did the Gross Catholic turnaround come out of nowhere? Did that come out of left field?
Well, I think it was kind of brewing, right? So these seniors have played together for a long time, and so we saw the Junior Cougars program, and people were whispering around, "Oh, it's a good group. It's a good group. We got to watch this group." And they stayed together. It's a close group. They got a fantastic coach, man. And I think they kind of saw it coming. But I mean, it's always been about what they think anyway, right? They never really worried about what anybody else was saying. And, Coach Van Hout, he's just one of those guys. He's kind of low profile. I saw him at Sauter's Media Days early this season. Before the season started, it was the fall sports media days, and today, I really like you guys. I think you got a good chance. He had a couple good linemen there, good looking kids, and he just was kind of, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, and it's come to fruition for him.
Is this game,
and they're going against a monster? I mean, Bennington is.
Well, I was going to ask you, is this game kind of like the movie Facing the Giants?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Because you get that really big relationship identity thing with Shiloh here, which in this case is Gross. And then you get the powerhouse, the Richland Giants from that movie. And
Bennington is, golly, just a lot of good kids, and they'll come at you in waves. I mean, they can truly platoon, right? So
25 straight wins for that team, back-to-back state titles, going for back-to-back, I should say.
They're going to have to be good in the trenches because I'm telling you, Gross up front, offensive and defensive line is the real deal.
Hey, when we look at Class A now, what about Gretna makes them such a special team? What sets them apart in this game, and what is Westside? And don't give away too many hints or pointers here, but what are you guys watching out for if you keep it in a general sense?
So I think their passing game obviously is if you do this, then they do this. So they're always on the same page, and their pitch and catch game. And Flores is unbelievable in terms of his poise and his leadership. And I mean, listen, he makes enough plays with his legs to keep you honest. So, I mean, their culture of competitiveness is key. The timing that he has in the relationships with his receiving groups, some of their concepts, they're big boy concepts. And we've got to do a good job of taking away window throws, giving good pre-snap looks, changing it up. We've got a chance. I feel pretty good this year. We've got a chance to have more of an input on the coverages and kind of how we want to play some things. So I feel, I don't know if it leads to wins, but I feel like our versatility will really help us on the back end because we have a lot of multiple guys that can do multiple things, and we're going to turn it loose. The theme all week has been one game, one night, leave it all out there, and we will. We'll give them everything that we've got in terms of packages and looks, and we want to have fun. I mean, I know Mike kind of downplays last year. I don't think the kids do. And as much as I don't think the parents do either. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I think the chance to get to do it over again, knowing that Gretna is the defending state champs. I don't think we certainly understand that. I don't care what the trophy case says.
Well, you've made the case multiple times that you didn't score enough in this game. You didn't produce enough offensively to compete.
I've never made any excuses because as a competitor, man, we lost. And that one leaves a mark. And we've talked about unfinished business, and I like our focus, and it's a good team, and I think Gretna's schedule down the stretch has really helped them because they found ways to win games that maybe they shouldn't have, but their resolve got tested late, and their mental toughness got tested late, and they like us have been dealt some tough injury blows, and they've had to keep overcoming. So I think it'll be as good as advertised.
Yeah, the only thing I really disagreed with Sautter with was him saying that this game was going to be lower scoring. I actually think it's going to be the latter. I think we're going to see some points on the board here.
Yeah, so the higher scoring the game is, I think, for once, I think could benefit us because we have some guys that can go. Now, obviously, I don't want Zane and that offense just, we can't
to show up in air raid. Yeah.
So we got to stop the run. So I think for us, how many points Gretna scores will be based on how we defend the run. If they get their running game going, then the RPO stuff works, then the play action stuff works. We're going to be in for a long night. So we got to stop the run.
How crazy, how special, how awesome would it be for you to see Tristan trot onto the field in a game that's tied so that you don't have a lot of stress, and he's kicking from the logo at Memorial Stadium, and he just knocks it through.
Yeah, it's been great. We have college goalposts on our practice field, so he is well aware of what
his tight window he has to fit
looks like. Right? Everybody was, why are you guys down on the lower field? Why are you guys down on the lower field? Well, those college goalposts we put in with the idea of wanting to play in Lincoln one day. And so, we want to practice on that. So, and that would be great. He's a competitive kid, and he likes to mow.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a ton of fun leading up to this week because it's the point in the season that teams have been fighting for, have been reaching toward. It's the ultimate goal, right? And your team knows it as much as every other team as well. But for anybody else out there listening, say they want to be in a state title game sometime. I mean, you're a big proponent of talking to kids and educating kids. So what would be a message to some of those kids out there that do strive to be in a position like this someday?
I'd stay the course. It's all about doing the little things. And it's not just coach speak. It's the folks that put in the time. I don't think it's any coincidence. Our staff puts in long hours. They ask their kids to. I've talked to Coach Van Hout and at Gross and Coach Bramer at Pierce and Coach Peterson at Aurora, and they have like kind of one thing in common, and it's their work schedule and what they ask of the kids. And sometimes it's not always about being the most talented. Sometimes it's about just understanding what your role is. And so I think kind of doing your 1 of 11 and understanding that you have value, whatever it is that you do, is a big key.
I know people can find you on the football field Monday night at 7:15, but what other games are you calling? Is it just that Pierce game, or do you have more?
I have C2, C1, and B all day Tuesday. So I'm 10, 10, 2:15, and 7:15 on Tuesday at Memorial Stadium.
So I hope you're are you spending the night or are you going back home?
Oh, I'll go back home.
I hope you're going back home with a smile on your face.
To turn right back around
right.
and embrace the moment. So it's tested me before. Sometimes, I've had good success in some of these state championship games, and we've taken some on the chin, and you go to work the next day. So let's hope that this one's on the good side.
Hey, as we wrap this thing up, I want to touch on one thing since we're going into Saturday. We're talking about Memorial Stadium. It's the last Husker home game here. What are you hearing when it comes to Casey Thompson and his health?
Yeah, I think he feels good. I saw those guys this morning. They were just getting started, and the quarterbacks were going through reps. And listen, it's Casey Thompson, and he's a competitor. I felt like he was going to play all week, and I think he's going to try to give it a go.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
I think it gives Nebraska the best chance to win.
No question.
Is that what? Did I take the words right out of your mouth?
I was just getting ready to say that. He gives Nebraska the best chance to win because I think I'm sorry for run the football guy, but they're going to have to throw the ball, I think, to win. And Casey gives them a chance to do that against the way Wisconsin wants to play some defense.
Yeah. Well, good luck to all of those football teams coming up next week in regards to state championship football. Also to the Huskers, great work by Creighton last night to also win by 29 points again. What a scary team they're becoming. Talk about Texas Tech here real fast and how they must be sitting at home scouting this team and thinking you can't lose sight of any of these five guys when they're on the floor. And that goes 9 deep. Like you have to always know where every white or blue jersey is on the floor at all times.
They've kept their turnovers down. The assists are high. We talked about, how about just the other night? We were talking about, they had 30 some odd baskets made and 28 assists. And they picked up on that last night against Riverside where they share the basketball and Nimhart and Mitchell aren't turning the ball over either at the point. So it's like, this is a team to obviously reckon with. And when you get guys like Alexander who just do all the little things, I clearly see why if you're in the Big East and you don't watch Creighton, he may not have been on some of the preseason lists because he does so many things well, but none of them are jaw-dropping. He may be Creighton's most important piece when it comes to being like what
it's kind of like CJ Stroud's stat lines this year.
A true glue guy. He gets loose balls. He's the first to the floor. He takes care of the basketball. He makes tough shots in the paint. Alexander does a lot of things well.
Yeah, he's kind of like the CJ Stroud of
very
college football
player.
Not to say that Heisman isn't in his future or that he would be a finalist, but we talk about all the time how like the flashy players always get the film, right? You always see things about them, but you never see the ones that are polished, controlled, and kind of fall as like unspoken secrets sometimes for teams, especially as you go down into seasons. Lastly, in regards to Nebraska's loss to St. John's, this was an oddball of a first half, but Nebraska needed to do a better job of taking advantage of all the turnovers St. John's had in the first half and finding ways to get buckets off of those turnovers. They didn't shoot the ball well. They know that. They sat back after the game and said, we didn't shoot the ball well. But when it comes to only having a 7-point lead at that point, like, yes, you're going into halftime with the lead, but you still didn't play very well in the first half.
No, and you thought at 27-20, gosh, this is kind of mucky. And but I think in the back of your mind, you wonder, was Nebraska going to be able to score enough points? And right away, the first 4 minutes, they didn't get a regular basket until the 16-minute mark, and you only had the 2 free throws up until then, and they had turned the ball over 4 times early in that half, and St. John's just got it going.
For those that took the over in that game, I steered them wrong.
Yeah, and I like St. John's in that one, and it didn't look good early, but I just didn't. I would just wonder how Nebraska's going to get baskets in late shot clock situations or when they're kind of out of sequence.
Yeah, if they're out of sync and things aren't going right, who's stepping up? Because that was kind of the question that we asked ourselves early on this year, and I made the case in the first few that it was Sam Griesel. But if it's not Sam Griesel,
they
who's
just
next?
Doubled to get the ball out of his hands early. They weren't going to let Sam get to them. You could definitely tell that was a plan from St. John's.
St. John's, well-coached team. Very well-coached team in that game, especially. That's it for the morning dump. We ran through everything.
I wouldn't go that far. I like my owl. Welcome.
You're a Johnny's guy.
I wouldn't say that. I think they show flashes. They're
being well coached.
Their inconsistencies drive me crazy.
That's DB's team.
And it's not my team.
He's a big Johnny's guy.
Yeah, right. And the Johnnies.
Now we'll wrap up the morning dub. We talked high school football, and then we as DB and I normally do, our brains take us in another direction, even though we say we're going to do something and then we don't, which is sign off. And then we talk to college basketball for the next 4 minutes. So it's kind of a thing, right? It's a quirk. It's a good quirk, though.
It's what we do.
It is what we do. And we're all about being there and having that charcuterie board for people at home, that they get a taste of every little thing on that board. Good luck to all those high school teams. Once again, good luck to the Huskers this weekend on Saturday, last home game. Get your tickets. They are really cheap. Get your tickets. Head down to Memorial Stadium and freeze your butt off with the rest of the fans and players. DB is going to be warm in the press box, though, so he can't side with that. Aside from that, wipe, get on with your day. We will see you Monday.